So, everybody, we have a verdict. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you're not, you're just tuning in. We do have a verdict. It looks like it's going to be announced at 3:45. So, I wanted to come on and say a few words to uh, before we got it. So, um, Here it is. My opinion is I strongly believe we're going to see a 4-5, 1-2-3, 1-2-3 not guilty, 4-5 guilty. That's what I think we're at because obviously this jury was very very divided, and to the point that they told the judge they thought they were deadlocked. And the way you're going to solve a deadlock and go back there is you're going to have to figure out a way to make everybody happy, and that's going to be the way that I think they're going to make everyone happy. Um, and I think everyone's going to say, okay, we're happy with that. Um, but we're safe. Now, personally, I believe appropriate verdict is not guilty for all of them because I think when you really truly dig in and look at the entirety of the case that the state presented, it's really not clear beyond a reasonable doubt that she's guilty on any of the charges that she was faced. But I think this jury um, is more likely than not going to find a compromise because I think there's, just like we've seen in the chat, just like we've seen in the polls, there is a lot of there's a lot of dug in views. Now it's also possible that this judge sent them back and there was maybe one or two holdouts and they decided, you know what, we're flipping over to guilty, and they're going to find again, there could, the other side could be a compromise that they say, you know what, we're going to find her guilty of just felony and not malice, and then the other things. But we'll find out. We'll see what happens. You know, it's going to be very interesting. So. Stand by here. We've got about another 13 minutes before this verdict is in. Right now, Adam Coy, I'm playing the Adam Coy verdict that already went down, but I'm playing it right now. If you're curious to see what his verdict was, you can head over there and watch that real quick. This will be taken off, or the verdict on this case will be read at 3:45, according to all sources. And they're waiting for family and everyone to amass, so it's not going to go off earlier. So with that said, guys, I'll see you in there at the verdict. We'll flip back to the courtroom screen, and I'll be obviously talking and giving reaction after after this goes down.
Seated. All right, I understand we have a verdict. I know we have lots of folks that are interested in the outcome of this case here. I've also heard at least 6 Amber Alerts while I was in the back buzzing in here. So if that happens, I'll just ignore it and pretend I didn't hear it. I want everyone to just understand that the jury's been working diligently on this case for the last 4 weeks of trial and for the last several days of deliberation. I don't want any outbursts one way or the other. If you don't think you'll be able to restrain yourself one way or the other, then you need to step out. All right, anything else we need to take up before we bring the jurors in? All right, we have our 2 alternates. All right, go ahead and bring them. Well, we have 4, but only two are coming. All right, I understand y'all reached a verdict.
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it signed by you as foreman?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, if you'll hand it to the bailiff, then I'll review it, and then I'll hand it back to you. All right. If you'll hand that back to the foreman. All right, sir, as foreman, I'm going to have you stand and publish your verdict. You can do that just by saying, "We, the jury," and then to each count, say, "We find the defendant guilty or not guilty" as to each count.
All right. We, the jury, as the count 5, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 4, find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 3, we find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, as to count 2, find the defendant guilty. And we, the jury, as to count 1, find the defendant guilty.
All right, we'll hand it back to the bailiff. Madam Bailiff, if you show it to counsel. All right, anything y'all want to take up?
No. Oh, we would ask you to poll.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Defense has asked that you be polled. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to run through each one of you. If you still remember your original jury number, if you don't, we'll give you some prompting. But if you'll stand up, we will then, I'll ask you a series of questions, and then I'll move to the next juror. After you see me do it twice, you'll understand what we're doing. All right? So, Mr. Bailiff, Mr. Clerk, if you'll call the juror.
Number 3.
All right, ma'am. Is that your verdict?
Yes, sir.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, sir.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, sir.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can be seated.
Number 7.
All right, sir, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, next.
Number 14.
All right, ma'am, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, it was.
Was the verdict agreed to by you?
Yes.
And is it still your verdict?
Yes.
All right, you may be seated.
Number 28.